In the Crown's mine regions, you can find 52 supply pods. 20 of them can easily be found inside several strongholds spread out around the map. While in this video you will learn how to find the other 32. For the first, start from the top left corner of the map. To be precise, from the space rift called the Miner's Camp. Immediately after, turn to the left and climb on top of the crane lift you will find here. Above this structure, you will find the first supply pod to loot. For the second, you need to reach the road on the left side from the crane lift. Now proceed further, staying along the right overhanging until you will find a grey rock. Attack it 3 times with any weapon and it will be destroyed, revealing the second supply pod to loot. For the third, turn to the right and jump downhill toward the tree. Underneath you will notice 2 pipes and you have to get on top of the left one. Now reach its end and jump inside where you will find the third supply pod to loot. For the fourth, get out from the pipe and go to the left. Along the mountain wall you have to jump on top of the smaller overhangings. Then after the pipe you have to climb to the left side from the building you will find here. Up here you have to attack a dark boulder with a normal weapon several times until you will be able to reveal and loot the 4th supply pod. For the 5th, start climbing on top of the building to the right. While doing so, use the extruded sections in order to recover your stamina before you will be able to go forward. Once you will reach its top, get behind the grass and you will find a ramp going up. Use it, turn around and you will notice the next one. Keep repeating this action until you will reach the next floor, where on the right side behind a bush you will find the next series of ramps to be used. Keep using them until you will reach the top of the tower. Here you will need to climb on top of the central cylindrical structure in order to find a gold supply pod to loot. For the 6th, jump down from the tower toward a yellow pipe. At its base you will find a grey storm formation you have to destroy with a normal weapon. This action will reveal the 6th supply pod that now you can loot. Before you will be able to obtain the 7th, you will need to visit the top right corner of the Banges area. To be precise, you need to start from the space rift called the Mount Targus. You will need to jump down from the hill behind the space rift and go to the left. In the wall area behind this gate, on top of the grass, you will find several items you will be able to collect. Those items take the name of Fiddlehead, and you will need 13 of them. For the next step, you need to visit the central upper side of the Navia region. Here you will need to start from the space rift called Raincolor Island. From its location, turn around, and on the left side from the ruin you have to loot the brown rice. Now proceed further and immediately after a stone ground you will find a second brown rice to loot. Now turn around and you will find a cooking machine you have to interact with. Here you will need to access the creation tab and in the first slot place 2 brown rice and in the second one the 13 fiddlehead. Next click the button cooking and you will obtain a fiddlehead pie in exchange. Now it's time to reach the central part of the Crown mines. To be precise, use the space rift called the lab. From here, go to the left side from the building and jump over the fence. Go forward and enter in the small passage on the right side from the bones. Here, after the yellow pipe, reach the Strand Rock formation on the left side, where you will be able to loot a strange residue. Next, teleport back to the space rift called the lab. This time though, turn around and behind the space rift jump over the fence. Glide your way towards the right side of the building with the yellow pipe on top of it. Here you will find a support metal pillar on the right side and you have to reach its base. Now you will need to crouch in order to be able to pass through the small hole on the right. On the other side you will find an NPC called the Stalker you have to speak to. In the conversation you have to use the first option called Hang over the residue. Next, if you will speak with him again with the fiddlehead pie in your inventory, you will obtain an ore extract in exchange. Now open your map and use again the lab space rift. This time you have to go to the left side from the building and jump over the fence. Then reach again the small passage on the right side from the bones. Now on the right side of the cave you will find 3 small pillars. Interact with the first one, click yes, then switch to gear 2. Now interact with the second pillar and this time click again yes, then switch to gear 1. Then interact with the last pillar and click again yes and switch to gear 3. After a few seconds you will start a cutscene that will show you a destruction of the wall. Now get at its base and interact with the ore chunk you will find here in order to loot the 7th supply pod. For the 8th on the right side of this cave you have to start climbing on top of the mountain. After the first overhanging you have to keep climbing up toward the next one. Up here you have to reach the bush in front of the next overhanging and start climbing it as well. Up here on the right side from a mountain wall you have to climb on top of the smaller overhangings. Then turn to the left and explore the stone overhanging. At the end of it you will find the 8th supply pod. For the 9th, turn to the right and jump downhill. Then on the left side from a tent you will notice a grey rock formation. Attack it with any weapon in order to destroy the rock formation and reveal the 9th supply pod to loot. For the 10th, reach the end of the overhanging and jump downhill to the left. Here you will notice 2 bridges and you have to reach the central part of the lower one. This will allow you to find the 10th supply pod that now you can loot. For the 11th, turn around and check along the mountain wall where there are some wooden platforms. On top of one of them you will notice 2 mine workers you have to reach. In front of them there is also a building and you have to check the left side of it in order to find the 11th supply pod. For the 12th, on the left side you have to use the ladder. Reach the central part of the platform, turn around and use the left passage. At the end of it, jump on top of the cliff to the right and reach its end. Here you will find a treasure guard you have to defeat in order to be able to loot a supply pod behind it. For the 13th, you have to reach the central left side of the Crown Mines area. To be precise, you need to use the space rift called the Southern Mountains. Now reach the overhanging immediately in front of you and jump down. At the edge of the next hill you will find a pod covered with some thorn vines. Attack it with a fire weapon in order to free it up and then you will be able to loot the 13th supply pod. For the 14th, keep exploring the central left side of the map, where you have to use again the space rift called Southern Mountains. This time though, you have to turn to the left and reach the overhanging you will notice on the right. On top of its higher part you will find a pod covered with some thorn vines. Attack it with a fire weapon in order to free it up and then you will be able to loot the 14th supply pod. For the 15th, reach the peak of the overhanging and jump down. Below you will need to reach a platform with a crane lift sticking out from its central part. At the end of this crane lift you will find the 15th supply pod. For the 16th, turn to the right and reach the passage along the mountain wall. Now, going to the left, you have to reach the dandelion you will notice in the distance. Then jump toward the next hill with the bones above it. Immediately after, boost yourself on top of the smaller overhanging in front. Then turn around and reach the higher part of the skeleton to the right. From here, turn to the right and climb on top of the hill you will notice in front of you. Now follow the passage going to the left. At the end of it you will notice a platform you have to reach using the right mountain wall. This will allow you to find and loot the 16th supply pod. For the 17th, start climbing on top of the wall to the right. Then climb also the metallical support. Once you will get on top of it, turn to the right and climb also the building. Use the extrusion you will find in the middle to restore your stamina, then proceed further till the upper side. Now, using the extrusion you have to go to the left all the way till the end. Here you will need to jump on top of a metallical platform, then jump down in the manhole to the left. Down here check behind the blue wall and then approach the door to the left. It will open revealing the 17th supply pod that now you can loot. For the 18th you have to go to the left and using the ladder get on top of the platform. Then turn around and reach the end of the passage. Then from the side without the fence you have to jump down. This will allow you to find on the right side from 2 red barrels the 18th supply pod to loot. For the 19th, turn to the right and use the staircase going to the right. Up here use the ramp going to the left. Reach the end of the passage, then jump down. Below, slightly to the left, you will notice two stone overhangings. On top of the left one, you will notice a grey stone formation you have to destroy using a normal weapon. This will reveal the 19th supply pod that now you can loot. For the 20th, you have to turn around and then start climbing on top of the mountain wall on the left side from the mushrooms. Up here, you have to use the left passage until you will reach some huge bones. Jump on top of them, and behind the second one, you will find the 20th supply pod to loot. For the 21st, you have to go to the central left side of the map. To be precise, you will need to use the space rift called the Southern Mountains. From here, you have to jump downhill and reach the right stone overhanging. Jump downhill from its central part and get to the area underneath. Here, in front of a tent, you have to defeat the treasure guard. Then, on top of the right crates, you will be able to loot the 21st supply pod. For the 22nd, turn to the left and get on top of the hill with the yellow pipe. Now, proceed further staying along the overhanging until reaching the greenless part. At the end, in the central part of this area, you will find the 22nd supply pod to loot. For the 23rd, jump downhill and turn around. Staying along the mountain wall, you have to proceed to the left. At the end of the sand shores in the water, you will find the 23rd supply pod to loot. For the 24th, you have to go to the bottom right side of the map. To be precise, you need to reach the space rift called the Lumina. From here, you have to use the ramp going to the right. Now you need to reach the central end part of this platform, where between two searchlights you will find the 24th supply pod to loot. For the 25th, turn around and use the passage on the left side. Reach its end and get uphill to the left. Here you will find an enemy enchantment and behind it you have to jump downhill. In the central part of a small green area you will find a pod covered with some thorn vines. Attack it with a fire weapon in order to free it up, and then you will be able to loot the 25th supply pod. For the 26th, you have to reach the central right side of the map. To be precise, you have to start from the Omni Tower. From here, you have to jump straight down. Then, immediately behind the small fence, you have to jump further down. From one of the overhangings on the right, you will notice a dandelion. Look further to the right, and top of a higher overhanging, you will find a pod covered with some thorn vines. Attack it with a fire weapon in order to reveal the 26th supply pod to loot. For the 27th, turn to the left, reach the dandelion and jump downhill. Along the road below, you will find several palms. Well, you have to reach the three closer to the mountain wall. Between them, you will find a pod covered with some thorn vines. Attack it with a fire weapon, this way you will be able to loot the 27th supply pod. For the 28th, you have to continue exploring the central right side of the map. Again, start from the Omni Tower. This time though, on the left side, you have to use the jetpack in order to boost yourself up. This will allow you to reach the hill you will notice in front of you. Now go to the left until you will be able to get on top of the left overhanging. At the end of it, you will find the 28th supply pod to loot. For the 29th, it's time to reach the central upper side of the map. Here you will need to use the space rift called the Northern Mountains. From here you have to jump down and look to the right where you will notice the ruin entrance. Down here you will need to use the bridge going toward the ruin. Then use the right passage and at the end of it jump down from the wooden platform toward a metallical one. Slightly on the left then you will find the 29th supply pod to loot. For the 13th, reach the metallical bridge you will notice in front of you. Reach its central part, then jump down to the left. This will allow you to get on top of a central hill. On its left side you will notice a small grey rock formation you have to destroy using any weapon. This will allow you to reveal and loot the 13th supply pod. For the 31st, you have to go back to the central upper side of the map, where you will need to use again the space rift called Northern Mountains. From up here you have to jump to the right and go again toward the ruin. This time though, instead of using the bridge, you have to jump down to the right. Attached to the mountain wall you will notice two trees. Between them you will find a pod covered with the thorn vines. Attack it with a fire weapon, this way you will be able to loot the 31st supply pod. For the 32nd downhill you will notice a red building you have to reach. On the left side of it you have to jump on top of the wooden platform. At the end of it you will find the 32nd and the last supply pod of this region.